Hello friends, welcome. Friends, I would like to draw your attention to the Telecom Regulatory Authority of India's notification dated 23rd December 2024. Now, many of the consumers might have missed this notification. Actually, this notification is pretty crucial and surprising as well. What is this notification? This notification is calling for the operators to provide to the user voice and SMS only packs. Now, friends, you know that in today, voice and SMS only packs are not available. If you want to buy mobile services, you have to take a data centric pack. Now, that data centric pack offers you different types of capabilities for you to use data. It can be low data capability on a per day basis, or it can be very high and unlimited data capability on a per day basis, depending on what kind of plan you subscribe. So that is the trend that we are witnessing today, and there are no voice specific plans are available. Now, what TRAI is saying is that since there is a large proportion of our consumers in India which are using feature phones only with keypads, for them to be thrust upon these data packs which they can't use is actually very unfair, and it is not in the interest of the consumer, and therefore they are asking the mobile operators and telling the mobile operators that from now onwards separate voice SMS pack to cater for users who prioritize voice communication should be offered, so that it can offer a cost effective solution, so that it can provide a cost effective solution without data features, thus simplifying the choice of enhanced user satisfaction. So this is very crucial what TRI is saying. This is very crucial what TRI is saying, and it is saying that elder people who are less inclined to use data services due to lack of knowledge in rural areas will be benefited. Families having broadband at home feel recharging of data of extra burden for forcing them to pay for services which they are not required. Right? And for getting OTP from registered mobile services given by bank, Aadhaar, ITR filling report, etc., voice and SMS pack are required, and especially when their registered mobile number is not primary number of the users. So this is in nutshell what TRI is saying. Now, this has created a little bit of excitement among the users because of the current tariff hike, and they are thinking, and we are thinking, that the operators are now going to provide voice and SMS vouchers which will make mobile communication cost effective, especially for our many of the high-end users also who are holding multiple SIM just because they want to have the SIM linked to their bank account. Because let's say if you are having multiple bank accounts and you are forced to buy a data pack based service which you don't need, right? You only need voice and SMS, and you are being thrust upon that service just because there is nothing available on the market which are voice and SMS centric. Now, friends, what I am going to do today is I am going to tell you that what kind of implications it are going to create on the operators and what operators are likely to do to get around this order so that their businesses are not impacted in a detrimental fashion. So let me tell you this, and for that what I did was I wrote an article just around couple of hours back, and this article I have paste a link in the description. This is the title of the article, and you can read through this article. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to take you through this article step by step so that you understand the implication of this order and how much likely that this order is going to meet the aspirations of the consumer for a voice SMS centric pack, which is our need, and we don't need to buy that data which is being thrust upon our throat. That's the whole purpose of this presentation. Okay, so let's go and step by step. Now, before I take you through the implication of the TRAI's order, I would like to take you through some history, and that history is very important to understand, right? Now, if you see that today we do not have voice centric plans, but in past around 6 years or 7 years back, before the entry of Jio, we actually had voice centric plans. And those voice centric plans were pretty popular. And they were so the operators were primarily making revenues from voice services, which ultimately got migrated to data centric services only. Now primary source of revenue the operators are making is from data centric services. Now this you can clearly see from this chart. Let me show you this chart. So what is this chart talking about? It is saying that the average wireless data usage per month, which was in FY21 Q3, was 12.13 GB, now has increased almost 2 times, which is 21.3 GB. So within this quarter, 15 quarters, you can see that there is a huge jump of average data usage per month, which is for the consumers. So this has increased significantly. But the rate has decreased. The data rate has decreased from 11.01 rupees 11.01 G per GB to 8.31 GB. So the consumer might feel there is a perception that actually this is good for the consumers, because you see that the data rates have gone down and the data usage has gone up. So it gives us a very good kind of opinion about the wireless market, that how it is benefiting the consumers. Now, but the perception actually is little different. Let me tell you why. Now, before I take you through the reality of the situation, let's look at one more chart, which is going to give us a different type of business dimension and how the business metric has changed over a period of time. Now, this chart is giving you the Indian Telecom Wireless Dashboard composition and trends of revenue stream rupees per month except percentage. So, what I have done is that on the top part of the chart, I have plotted the absolute value of total ARPU, which has increased from 113.44, which was in FY 2014, to 157.45 in FY25. However, there was a dip that we saw at the time when the Jio was making their entry. So you can clearly see that there is a dip, and then it slowly increased once the market stabilized. And the reason this dip was there, because Jio, you know that it started giving free data, and therefore it drove the ARPU down. Now, if you look at the chart which is down below, right, just below this chart, this block which I showed you, is giving you the composition in percentage of the various dimension of ARPU. So you have got rental, you have got ARPU for calls, you have got ARPU for SMS, ARPU for data, VAS, and others. So you will notice that in FY14, the majority portion of the ARPU was made up of rental, voice calls, and SMS. If you add all these three, you'll find that it forms a substantial number. And now if you see, this number is pretty low compared to what the data composition is now. So with VAS and data, if you add, it was very, very low in FY14. Now this is a significant number. It is as close to 90%. So the operator's ARPU composition has become more data centric. Very clearly from this chart we can say. And this business model change was forced by Reliance Jio. Now, how did it happen? It happened because in 2016, when Reliance Jio made an entry into the telecom space, it entered the market with 4G data-centric network. Before that, operators primarily had deployed 2G and 3G networks. You know that 3G auction took place in 2010. After that, 3G operators started monetizing 3G spectrum and deployed 3G networks. And before that, there was a substantial part of their investment was on 2G. Now, unfortunately, both 2G and 3G are not that data capable. 3G is, but 2G is mostly voice-centric network. Now, since the investments were done, just after the auction, which took place in the year 2010, operators wanted to monetize their investments. But just before they could monetize, Reliance Jio entered the market with 4G network. And that 4G network is much more efficient when it is used for data-only service. Because voice is a very small portion of the data consumption, and mainly the network is highly capable of using data services. So Reliance entry into this segment forced the existing incumbent operators to move to 4G services. And there was one important reason why this transition was accelerated. Now, before that, what happened was, before the TRAI came out with a zero IUC regime. IUC is another term which I would like to explain to you, that before the entry of Reliance Jio, and even within certain period when the Reliance Jio was in business, the existing incumbent operators were collecting interconnect usage charges from a competitor who is interconnecting with them. For example, let's say Bharti was already in business. Bharti has rolled out networks throughout the country. Reliance Jio entered the market. Now Reliance Jio is starting the service from ground up, right? So it's an organic network which is growing and is going to become bigger as time progresses. Now, before Reliance Jio grows big, Reliance Jio's customer has to connect to Bharti's network, right? So they have to connect to Bharti's network in order to connect to those users who are Bharti's users. Without them being able to connect to those users, Reliance Jio's existing customers who are latched onto to Reliance Jio's network will not have any value. Now, since Bharti has already made a huge amount of investment, therefore, the regulators allowed Bharti to collect a charge called interconnect usage charge, and that interconnect usage charge was collected on a per minute basis, on a voice call basis, just for the Bharti, for Reliance Jio to Reliance Jio's consumer, leveraging Bharti's already made investment. That was the whole idea. Okay. So this interconnect usage charge became a big deterrent, right, for any operators to follow any other business model, because the call connections were on a per minute basis, on a voice basis. So the voice became the paramount service on which the interconnect usage charges were collected. So if you offer free voice, for example, then you have to pay, the operator has to pay IUC based on the amount of time a user is calling the competitor's network. So if, let's say, if you are giving 1000 minutes, the 1000 minutes lands up to Bharti's network, the IUC is going to get collected on that basis. And for you not collecting any money on the MOUs, the 1000 MOUs, you have to end up, consuming, or your cost is going to be increasing because you have to pay Bharti for the voice call which is made. More unlimited calls that you give, more IUC revenue collection that Bharti will make. So that became a big deterrent. So what happened was, through the regulator, and the regulator, went in a different direction, and it went and said that the IUC regime has to have a sunset date. It cannot continue forever. So the regulator ultimately unwinded the IUC regime. From after that, the voice only packs become completely useless, because there is no point for anybody to, there was no barrier to unlimited calling anymore now, because the IUC regime got dismantled. So this is a very important factor that I want you to know before we go further into this presentation, right? Now what happened was, there was a huge impact on the consumer, because now everything became data centric, and there was no demotivator, or there was no bottleneck which prevented anybody to offer unlimited voice service. IUC regime got unwinded. Okay. So what happened? Because of that, the ARPU, which was initially voice centric, which I was showing, which I showed you, now became data centric, right? And that resulted in a large amount of the ARPU also rising from 113 to 162 in FY20, and those users who actually are not using data, they are using feature phones which are costing roughly 1500 rupees for new feature phone, and for used feature phone which are keypad based phone where there is no data capabilities, they ended up paying higher call rate. Why higher call rate? Because the packs which were offered with data. Whether you need it or not, you have to use data, right? But let's say if I have a feature phone, I do not have the data capability in my phone, I'm only making voice call, I still have to shell out that kind of money for the data usage which I don't need. and therefore your voice usage, the voice per minute call, which went down to 16 paisa per minute in 2018 from 16 rupees, a long back when the mobile communication started, if you recall, in 1990s. You ended up paying roughly around between 0.4 to zero point 0.8 or maybe 1 rupees per minute depending upon your usage. So this became a problem, and that problem was addressed by the tariff order of TRAI. This tariff order now addresses this problem, and they are forcing the operators to come out with data, voice only and SMS only packs, because some people who don't need data, for them it will be useful. So you have to come out with an alternative which will fulfill the market requirement. That is why the order is, as we have already discussed. Now, the operators recently, 6 months or 7 months back, made some tariff hikes, and that impacted the low end user. And this is also important part of the story, that there was a tariff hike which took place, and I am going to explain to you. And if you look at this, but these charts which is right in front of you, so the tariff hike, what it did, it impacted the low end consumer, as much as it impacted the high end consumer. So if you look at the 28 days validity plans for data, the data with 28 validity 1 GB per day, you will find that this is basically a table which you can see in my article, that the plans were increased within a range of around 12 to 19%, based on which operator you are using, which operator services you are using. Similarly, the 28-day validity plan, which is 1.1 GB per day, also had a significant increase. You see 16% to 25%. Like that, every pack was increased, right? Then another thing is that operators were also offering voice plans also. What is the difference between a voice plan and a data plan? The data plan has got at least between 1 to 2 GB of 2 GB or 2.3 or 3 GB data per day. Means there was a significant data associated with this pack. So these are data centric pack. However, voice plans actually are laced with less data. So this data per day comes out to be roughly around 0.7 GB per day, which is roughly around 2 GB for the full 28-day validity. Now these data packs, right, were offered with the purpose that it kind of serves the voice plan, and this is which the operators are going to leverage, because they are offering voice plan today. If you see, they are offering voice plans. It's not that they are not offering voice plan, but those voice plan are packaged as if that these are data plan. Now, if you look at the 28 days validity plans, you will find that the data rate comes out to be roughly between 9 to 10 rupees or 11 rupees per GB, right? Rates per GB, right? So depending upon which plan you are using. So if you are using high-end plan, then the data rates were quite low, 5 rupees. However, because you are using a voice plan, you ended up using data at very, very pricey. For example, the 28-day validity 0.07 GB per day data for Bharti, VI and Reliance Jio, you ended up costing around 100 rupees per GB. So this data is very, very costly, but it does not throw up clearly because of the fact that these are being packaged at voice plan, right? So what the operators will do now? The operators are going to follow a simple strategy now. So what they will do, instead of coming out with data centric pack, voice centric pack, they are going to just take out the data part of these packs, these voice plans, and simply project this as if that they are voice plans. And therefore, in that way, whatever revised plan that they came out with, right, because of the tariff hikes, they can preserve that, right? So this is going to be the operator strategy. The operators will do what? So roughly around 200 rupees per month for a 28-day voice plan without GST. So if you are going to position these plans as voice only plans, voice and SMS only plans, and package this without data, then your purpose is solved. But there is a problem here. The problem is that now, since these are going to be voice only packs, then if you are not going to come out with something which is lower than this, like if you are going to only position the 200 rupees revised plan pack for the validity or 28-day validity, then what will happen is this means that the users, whatever amount of voice that they use, whether they use 200 minutes per month, whether they use 300 minutes per month, 400 minutes per month, or 1000 minutes per month, they will end up consuming the same value, 200 plus with GST. So it does not matter that how much you are consuming. So it will not serve any purpose for the consumer, because consumer will end up paying voice rates which are going to be very high. So if let's assume that I am going to consume only 200 minutes of voice for a 200 rupee plan, my voice call rate will become 1 rupee per minute. But if I am going to use 1000 rupees, 1000 MOU for a 200 rupees plan, then I am only paying 0.2. So I am a user who doesn't want to use, let's say, 1000 MOU. I want to use only 200 MOU. So why will I pay for the 1000 MOU by buying a pack of rupees 200? That is the challenge which the operators are going to face. Because if the operators are going to be simply convert this voice plan with which are currently bundled by with data, a small amount of data, without this data, and basically brand them as voice only and SMS only plan, then the consumer will not get the benefit of using voice as much as they want, what used to happen in the past. So I think this is not going to be in the true spirit of the TRAI's order. So the conclusion is that this order amendment is a catch-22 for the telecom operators. Now, on a perception basis, if the operators continue to remain and continue to position their existing data pack as voice pack without coming out with a version which is lower than that for those budget conscious users who do not want to consume so much amount of voice, for them anything that they do will be of no value, and this TRAI order will not have any, this amendment will have no meaning. But if they do that, if they come out with a tariff plan or an pack which is of a lower value, then everybody will gravitate to that number, because nobody will consume 1000 MOUs. They may end up consuming only 200 MOUs. So you pay for only 200 minutes rather than paying for 1000 minutes. So that what will happen is that the tariff hike which happened at the low end, which is as high as 20% for some of the operators, that tariff hike will be completely reversed. So there will be a negative impact on the operators, especially in the low end segment, and even in the high end segment where people are carrying multiple connections and they are using those connections only for SMS, for banking applications only, and they are unnecessarily paying the 250 rupees of no purpose. So they will take a voice only plan, a feature phone that will serve their purpose. So this can have a detrimental impact on the operator's overall business. This has not been understood in this manner, and therefore I thought of explaining this very clearly, that if the true spirit of the TRAI's tariff order, the 12th amendment, has to be taken into consideration, operators will have to come out with voice SMS only pack which are going to resonate with the true requirement of the users who don't want to use such high amount of voice, which typically would appear to be for those plans which are of higher value and which are currently being offered by the operators as voice only pack laced with a certain amount of data. Those data is very small. So this is the challenge which I thought of explaining to you in this video, that we have to see very closely, watch as to how the consumer reacts and how the operator reacts to this TRAI amendment, and it will be very interesting to see how the overall discourse takes place as we move forward in time. So we should have to closely watch this, right? So that's all, friends. I thought of explaining this amendment, which I thought is very important. I have not seen that kind of analysis in the public domain, and I thought that since I have done all the work in the past, I thought of putting it down. So you can go here, and in this article that you will see, that you will find that there will be a lot of links which you can basically refer to get the history. So that will be very useful for you, and anybody who is wanting to understand history and what happened in past, they can go through my article and will learn more about this particular topic. Thank you, friends, for your time and listening to the end, and I will come back to you with a new video next time. Thank you very much.